A literary analysis of Ender's Game by Thayer Whitney. Ender's Game is a fascinating story that carefully examines the morality of actions in war. These morals are seen laced throughout the entire book of Ender's Game. It is perfectly summarized when Ender is speaking with his sister on the lake. In the moment when I truly understand my enemy, understand him well enough to defeat him, then in that very moment I also love him. And then I destroy them. I make it impossible for them to ever hurt me again. I grind them until they don't exist. Thus Card would seem to be saying, in order to survive, one must not only defeat one's opponent, but obliterate him. Throughout the book, we continually see glimpses at this end moral judgment. However, is this truly what Card is seeking to convey? Or is he saying something completely different? Orson Scott Card was born in Washington State on August 24th, 1952. He was the third of 6 children. The family was not very deep-rooted, moving from Washington to California, then to Arizona, and finally the birth state of their religion, Utah. Card's interest in writing started when he was young. His first attempts at writing were poetry. During the time he spent in school studying towards a theater major, he would spend much of his time doctoring scripts for the plays that he himself was directing or producing. This would later evolve into his writing his own plays. Card was raised in the Mormon faith and continues the practice to this day. When he was a young adult, he traveled to Brazil as a missionary for the Church of the Latter-day Saints. Upon his return, he worked at the Brigham Young University Press. During his time there, he would write the story known as Ender's Game. However, his first edition was classified as a short story, dealing only with the time that Ender was in battle school. It was not until later that Card would flesh out the story, adding the before and the after of the events in school, as well as adding in the scenes from the school. While Card is best known for his works in science fiction, he has branched out into other styles, but science fiction remains his strongest genre. As he once said, "My job in writing sci-fi is to make the possible not just seem possible, but likely, inevitable." Works such as Ender's Game are examples of this thought process. Ender's Game takes place on a futuristic Earth. The Formic have already attacked once and, while they were beaten back, the humans nearly lost. So, in preparation of the second invasion, humanity starts to recruit genius children to command their armies. This is where we are first introduced to Ender. He is recruited at age 6 to attend the prestigious Battle School. Battle School is a space station that is in constant orbit around Earth. Promising students are sent there to train, and of the best that were there, those are sent to command school. Ender is one of those. He became the top pupil, serving as the commander in the simulator. Unbeknownst to him, he was actually controlling the fleet remotely. He does not learn this until the very end, hence the name Ender's Game. The most important aspect of the story is the message that Card embeds in the fabric of his work. That message is who has the better morals. Is it Ender, or is it the military? In the novel, the reason behind Ender's recruitment is that he is willing to sacrifice almost anything to win. When he is bullied in school, both on Earth and in space, he fights back with such ferocity that he kills both of his classmates. In the simulator, he is equally ruthless in the destruction of the Formic. In fact, in the last stages of his so-called training, he destroys the Formic's home planet, killing the Queen and causing the death of every single Formic in the universe, from warrior adults down to the infants. Yet, this is not the sole reason why the military recruited Ender. It is because Ender decimates his opposition, yet he does not do it willingly. Violence is always a last resort for him, and when he does revert to violence, he never takes any joy in it. In fact, at the death of his 2 classmates, He feels so sick to his stomach that he almost rushes up his breakfast. After the stress of training for the past few weeks for what he thought was the final exam in command school, Ender is rendered senseless after he learns that in actuality he destroyed the planet of the Formics. In all of his conflicts, Ender consistently tries for a peaceful end to his problems, even with the Formic, who contact him in his dreams at night. The military's morals appear to be almost non-existent. They enlist children when they are barely 6 years old. At the battle school, the military promotes aggression between the groups of children. These groups of children are called armies, so that they will be isolated from each other. Later, the military also uses Ender to fight a war he doesn't know is happening. He is placed in an advanced battle simulator, which is a control deck linked to the front lines, and commands the entire invasion. However, while the military seems to have no boundaries on what they do have a reason behind their actions. Children have better reflexes than adults and are better suited to adapt to new situations. Isolation was encouraged because it allowed the students to focus on their studies, making the learning process more effective. The military doesn't tell Ender that he's leading an invasion because they don't want him to hold anything back. Ender acts violently when it is the final option. The military is trying to save humanity, and both commit horrendous crimes. However, both did the best they could with what information they had. Neither of them were entirely right or entirely wrong. This is what Card seems to be trying to show, that in war, no one is truly right.